I should have told him. You ever get that gut feeling that something's off, but you can't explain why? That's where I was with Rachel. We'd been dating for 2 years. Lived together for 1. We had our routines: Sunday morning pancakes, rotating who picked the show we fell asleep to, and a shared notes app list for groceries. Nothing wild. But solid. Or so I thought. It started small. Subtle. The kind of thing you could easily write off if you wanted to keep your peace. Rachel was always quick with her phone before, scrolling TikTok next to me or firing off texts while I cooked. But suddenly, she started angling the screen away from me. Like a reflex. Like I was the sun and her iPhone needed shade. The first time I noticed, we were at this Vietnamese spot we always hit on Wednesdays. She got a text and actually turned her whole body slightly to the left before replying. She smiled at whatever it was. Then locked her screen so fast it might have cracked. I joked, "Secret admirer?" She didn't laugh. Just blinked like she was buffering and said, "No, just Carly. She sends weird stuff." I let it go. Another time, we were watching The Office for maybe the 100th time, and she got a notification that lit up her watch. She tapped it immediately. Didn't even glance at me. That's when I started noticing she was suddenly really into wearing her Apple Watch again. Like every day. Even to bed. I kept telling myself I was overthinking. She's just stressed. She did have a new manager at work. She'd been trying to hit the gym more often. Maybe she was just in a weird headspace. Still, it didn't feel like Rachel. At least not the version I knew. She started going out more girls' nights that never used to happen, or ones I wasn't invited to anymore. And when I'd ask how her night was, she'd answer with fine or good, and leave it at that. No stories. No funny rants. Just vague. It was like someone had pressed pause on her personality. But here's the thing, I didn't want to be that guy. The paranoid, jealous boyfriend. The insecure one who can't handle his girl having a life outside the relationship. So I told myself it would pass. It didn't. Looking back, it's embarrassing how many red flags I missed, or worse, explained away like I was trying to gaslight myself. The first one I remember clearly was in late September. Rachel came home from one of those girls' nights smelling like cologne. Not just someone hugged me cologne, but I sat next to this scent for hours cologne. I noticed it the second she dropped her purse on the counter. "Damn," I said, half joking. "You rob a department store?" She froze for a second, then laughed too hard. "We went dancing, remember? Clubs smell like that." We hadn't danced together in 6 months. She went straight to shower without even grabbing a snack, which was also weird. Rachel always snacked after drinking. Another time, I caught a glance at her phone while she was texting on the couch. The name said Dylan. I only saw it because she dropped her phone briefly between the cushions. I asked who he was and she said, "Oh, just someone from the gym. He's in my spin class." That answer, it felt rehearsed. Polished. Like she'd practiced it on the drive home. I let it slide, but that name burned into my brain. I actually considered checking her phone one night while she was asleep. I even reached for it. It was on the nightstand, plugged in. Her lock screen had changed recently from a picture of us at the lake to one of just her, sunglasses on, in that red bikini. The one she only wore once around me. I didn't do it. I didn't check. I told myself, if I have to look, the trust is already gone. But maybe I should have. Then there was the password change. We had each other's Netflix passwords, no big deal. But one night I went to log into hers because she had the ad-free account and suddenly I was locked out. I texted her. Me, "Hey, did you change your Netflix login?" Rachel, "Oh yeah, got hacked. Just reset it, all good." All good. Just another thing she didn't bother to tell me until I noticed. Like it never occurred to her that it affected me, or maybe she just hoped I wouldn't ask. It felt like her whole life was shifting behind a curtain, and I was on the wrong side of it. The worst part? I didn't confront her. Not then. Not even when all these little things were screaming at me. I just kept waiting for it to fix itself. Like an idiot. It finally hit a breaking point on a Tuesday night. I remember it too clearly. It was one of those quiet evenings where the apartment felt too still, like even the air was holding its breath. Rachel was sitting on the couch, legs curled under her, scrolling her phone. Again. Always the damn phone. I was in the kitchen pretending to care about chopping bell peppers for stir-fry, watching her from the corner of my eye. She hadn't said more than 10 words to me since getting home from work. No, how was your day? No little kiss on the cheek. Just walked in, dumped her bag, and fell into her screen like it was more familiar than I was. I wiped my hands on a towel and leaned on the counter. Hey, I said. She looked up. Hey. Can we talk for a sec? That made her sit up straighter. What's up? I didn't want to come off accusatory, but the words came out heavier than I meant. Are you seeing someone else? Her eyes widened like I'd slapped her. What? Just Rachel. Something feels off. You're always on your phone. You're barely here even when you are. You're different. And I feel like I don't even know who you're talking to anymore. There was a pause. She blinked a few times, then scoffed. You're seriously accusing me of cheating because I'm on my phone? I shook my head. No, I'm just saying, you're hiding something. It feels like there's this wall between us, and I don't know why it's there. She stood up now, phone still in her hand. You know what's funny? You get distant for a couple weeks and I say nothing. But the second I go through something, suddenly I'm cheating? What are you going through? I asked, too fast. That stopped her cold. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Like she hadn't expected to be asked that. She looked down, then back up. Work. Stress. Life. Everything. You could have just told me. She shook her head. I don't have to report every mood swing to you. I felt like I was going insane. Rachel, I'm not asking for a PowerPoint, I'm just asking you to be honest. If something's wrong, if you're unhappy, I'd rather know than sit here wondering if some guy from your spin class is texting you heart emojis. Her face went blank. And then, just like that, she turned and walked into the bedroom, muttering, "This is ridiculous." She didn't come back out that night. And I didn't follow. I just stood in the kitchen, listening to the sound of her door shutting like the end of a sentence I wasn't allowed to finish. She never answered me that night. I slept on the couch, not because she told me to, but because something told me I didn't belong in that room anymore. By morning, she was already gone. No note. No text. No goodbye. Just an empty coffee cup in the sink and a half-eaten protein bar on the counter. Like she'd been in a rush, or didn't want to be around when I woke up. I didn't hear from her for 2 days. It was that silence that drove me to do something I swore I never would. I wasn't proud of it. I still hate that I let it come to this. But that Friday, I remembered her old iPad. The one she barely used anymore. It used to sit in the kitchen drawer with the expired coupons and dead pens. I don't even know what made me think of it, maybe desperation, maybe instinct, but I dug through the drawer and there it was. Still charged. Still logged in. I didn't expect to find anything. I think I told myself I just wanted to not find something, so I could let it go and feel like a paranoid idiot. But the universe wasn't that kind. Her messages app opened without a password. And right at the top, Dylan Hot Pepper Fire dot. My chest went ice cold. I tapped the thread, and there it was. Weeks of messages. Maybe months. And not the vague kind either, these were emotional. Intimate. They talked about their connection. About how numb she felt with me. About how he made her feel alive again. There were pictures too. Not anything explicit, but enough. Her in that same red bikini from her new lock screen. Her in gym selfies with captions like "missing you." Her in bed, clearly not our bed. The most recent text had been sent the night I asked if she was seeing someone. "Dylan, did you tell him yet?" "Rachel, no. He's starting to suspect though." I stared at it until the words blurred. The sound of my own heartbeat was louder than the traffic outside. My hands were shaking, but I kept scrolling. I don't know why. Maybe to hurt myself more. Maybe to understand how long I'd been living next to a lie. At one point, I realized I was crying. I hadn't even noticed it at first. It wasn't the dramatic, movie-style kind of crying. It was quiet. Leaking. Like my body couldn't contain it anymore. I put the iPad back in the drawer and just sat there in the dark kitchen for what felt like hours. She hadn't told me. She never planned to. I didn't confront her. Not right away. That's the part people don't get. You think when you catch someone cheating, you're gonna explode, flip a table, demand answers. But when it's real, when it's your person, you freeze. I felt like I'd walked into a fire and sat down. For the next few days, I didn't say anything. I didn't bring it up when she got home late again Sunday night. Didn't mention the way she hummed while making tea like she hadn't just detonated my whole world behind my back. I watched her move around the apartment like it was still hers, like we still made sense. I became obsessed with the messages. At night, when she went to bed early, tired from work, I'd read the thread again on the iPad. Scrolling, backtracking, analyzing every word. I turned into some kind of sick detective of my own heartbreak. I saw how it started. The flirting. The inside jokes. How he called her Ratch before I even knew who he was. I saw when it shifted from friendly to something else. And I saw how quickly she gave herself to it. There were messages like, "I hate how I can't stop thinking about you. I wish I could fall asleep next to you instead." He's still clueless. I wasn't clueless. I was in denial. I started remembering things differently. That time she worked late and came home with makeup still perfect. That sudden push to join a new gym. Her scrolling Instagram and tilting the screen just slightly away. It was all right there. Hiding in plain sight. And then there was me. Making excuses for her. Convincing myself that distance happens in relationships. That if I just waited it out, we'd get back to normal. But normal was a lie she left behind months ago. I wasn't eating much. Just enough to stop my coworkers from asking questions. I'd go to work, pretend everything was fine, then come home and sit in the dark. The apartment didn't feel like mine anymore. It smelled like her. Looked like her. Every room was a crime scene and I didn't know how to clean it. People asked where she was. I lied. Said she was busy. Said she was traveling. Said anything but the truth, that she was falling in love with someone else while I was doing our laundry. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my best friend. I felt stupid. Humiliated. And the worst part? I still loved her. Even knowing what she'd done. I still looked at her like maybe, somehow, she'd come back to me. Maybe this was just a phase. Maybe I wasn't easy to love, and she was looking for something I couldn't give her. But eventually, I broke. I had to. It happened on a Thursday. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just quiet and fast, like a glass shattering on tile. She came home from the gym wearing that same black zip-up she always wore when she didn't want me to ask questions. Hair damp, face flushed, texting someone as she walked through the door. "Hey," I said, without looking up from the couch. "Hey," she answered, distracted. Dropped her gym bag. Kicked off her shoes. "Good workout?" I asked. She didn't even look at me. That was it. Something snapped. I don't know if it was the indifference in her voice or the way she smiled at her phone before locking it, but it was like all the weight I'd been carrying just cracked my ribs open. I stood up and walked into the kitchen. Pulled the iPad out from the drawer. I held it out to her without saying a word. She looked at it, then at me. Her face drained so fast I thought she was gonna pass out. The blood left her cheeks like someone had flipped a switch. I know, I said. I know about Dylan. I've read everything. She opened her mouth but no words came. Just a faint, trembling sound. Like her lungs were trying to push out something she couldn't say. How long? I asked. I already knew the answer. But I needed her to say it. She sat down slowly, like her knees had forgotten how to work. A few months, she said, barely audible. I laughed. Not out of humor, just disbelief. A few months, I repeated. Jesus. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. Don't, I said, sharp. Don't give me the cliché. You didn't mean to. You just tripped and fell into someone else's bed? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Rachel? Enlighten me. She started crying. I didn't care. Not then. Maybe I should have. But all I could feel was this burning in my chest, like something inside me was dying in real time. I felt alone, she said. You were always working. We stopped talking. I felt invisible. So instead of telling me that, you told him? She didn't answer. I stared at her, this person I thought I knew. This person I thought I'd grow old with. And all I could think was, I stayed loyal to a ghost. I walked to the bedroom. Grabbed a duffel bag. Threw in enough clothes to get me through the week. She followed me halfway down the hall. Where are you going? I turned, duffel slung over my shoulder. Anywhere that doesn't smell like betrayal. I slammed the door behind me harder than I meant to. The sound echoed down the stairwell like a full stop at the end of a story I didn't write. I didn't look back. I crashed at my brother's place the first night. He didn't ask questions when I showed up with the duffel bag. Just took one look at my face and said, spare keys in the flower pot. That kind of silent understanding only siblings really pull off. I slept on his couch for the next 3 nights. Or, I laid on his couch for 3 nights. Sleeping was another story. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. The first few days were a blur. I didn't eat. Didn't work. Called out sick and stared at the ceiling while background noise played just to drown out the quiet. I changed my lock screen. Deleted our playlists. Hid her Instagram. But her stuff was still in my head. I kept expecting her to text. Call. Show up crying. Something. Anything. But nothing came. It was like she'd been waiting for me to leave, and now that I had, she could finally breathe again. Radio silence. I didn't hear from her for an entire week. Then my mom called. She didn't know what happened, but she knew something had happened. Moms always do. She kept asking, gently, if everything was okay. I told her the bare minimum. Rachel and I aren't together anymore. That was the first time I said it out loud. It felt like swallowing glass. After that, I started telling more people. Friends. Co-workers. Everyone had the same look, part sympathy, part horror, part, do you want to talk about it? The worst was when people asked, do you think you'll get back together? I didn't even know how to answer that. It's hard to explain to someone that you miss a person you can't forgive. A couple friends offered to set me up with someone new. I wasn't ready. I downloaded dating apps just to scroll and uninstall them 15 minutes later. I wasn't angry, exactly. Just hollow. One night, I walked by our old apartment. Lights off. Curtains drawn. I stood on the sidewalk for a long time staring up at it, wondering if she was alone. Or if Dylan was inside, drinking out of a mug I bought. Eventually, I forced myself to move forward. Got my own place. Tiny, weird layout, creaky floor, but mine. Bought a new toothbrush. New silverware. New everything. But every now and then, I'd hear a song she used to hum or catch someone wearing the same perfume, and it'd hit me all over again. The loss. The confusion. The fact that someone can know every version of you and still choose to hurt you. Still, I didn't reach out. And neither did she. I told myself it was better that way. But then, she did. She messaged me on a random Wednesday. No context. No hey or hope you're doing okay. Just, Rachel, can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long time. My hands went cold. It had been over a month since I'd left. Since I'd last seen her face. Since everything that mattered between us had imploded. I didn't answer right away. I went for a walk instead. Around the block. Twice. My phone buzzed again. Rachel, I think I owe you that much. She was right. She did owe me. But I wasn't sure if I wanted what she had to give anymore. Still, I said okay. We met at the coffee shop near our old apartment. Neutral ground. She picked the corner booth, like always. She looked smaller somehow. Same hoodie I used to steal, hair tied back, barely any makeup. Like she was trying to shrink into the version of herself that I first fell in love with. Thanks for coming, she said, voice soft. I nodded. Didn't smile. She talked first. Said she was sorry. Said she didn't expect forgiveness, didn't even deserve it. That she'd been confused, selfish, scared. I thought what we had was dying, she said. And instead of trying to save it, I jumped ship. I listened. I didn't interrupt. Then I told her what it felt like on my end. The silence. The doubt. The nights wondering if I'd done something wrong, when it turns out she just stopped choosing me. How I stayed loyal to her memory while she created a new reality without me. She cried. I didn't. She asked if there was any part of me that wanted to try again. I looked out the window for a long time. Watched a dad trying to get his toddler into a car seat. Heard the hiss of the espresso machine behind the counter. Felt the weight of 2 years pressing down on me like a coat I didn't fit into anymore. I think I'll always love who we were, I said. But I can't unknow what I know. I can't go back. She nodded. Didn't argue. When we stood up to leave, she hesitated. Can I hug you? I let her. It felt like saying goodbye to a version of myself I'd outgrown. She walked one way. I walked the other. No final words. No dramatic turnarounds. Just two people who used to mean everything, now just trying to mean something to themselves again. It's strange, the way people leave without leaving. But I'm healing now. Slowly. Quietly. In my own space. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not waiting for a text that won't come.